Welcome back, everybody. Every 3 minutes, a woman in the United States is diagnosed with breast cancer. That is a startling statistic, and there are measures women can take not only to decrease their risk, but also detect it early. Today, Dr. Melanie Sheen, a medical oncologist with Ochsner's MD Anderson Cancer Center, is here to share some of this potentially life-saving information. Dr. Sheen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month all throughout the month of October. It's an important conversation we're having. And you know, many of us know about breast cancer, right? But I'm curious, what part of the breast does breast cancer usually start at?
Yes, so great question. The most common place for breast cancer to come up with is in the milk ducts.
Okay.
So the breast is combined primarily of fatty tissue, fibrous tissue, milk glands, and then milk ducts. And the milk ducts take the milk and bring it to the nipple. And those little ducts, those tubes, are where breast cancer primarily comes up. The second most common place is within those milk glands themselves.
This is fascinating. And you know, I want to read a statistic to you all. In 2023, it is estimated that more than 290,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S. alone. That is unbelievable. I want to talk a little bit about the risk factors. One risk factor that I found very interesting is that if you have never been pregnant before, you're more at risk for breast cancer.
Yes, and so the reason behind a lot of these risk factors have to do with estrogen exposure in the body. The most common type of breast cancer is ones fed by estrogen. And so if you have a long exposure to estrogen, early periods, no pregnancies, late menopause, those can all increase your risk of getting diagnosed with breast cancer.
This is fascinating. And look, I want to show everybody some more risk factors because there are a lot of people, if you're over the age of 55, unbelievable, you're more at risk. And of course, a family history and that genetic mutation. What's the name of that genetic mutation?
So there are actually a lot of genetic mutations that increase the risk of breast cancer. The one you're probably thinking of is the BRCA mutation, BRCA, and there are two of them, BRCA1 and BRCA2. But over the years, scientists have discovered even more mutations that can increase the risk of developing breast cancer. However, only 9% of people diagnosed with breast cancer have a genetic mutation.
Wow.
Meaning 91% of people who are diagnosed have no genetic link. So just because there's not breast cancer in the family, just because you don't have a genetic mutation, does not mean that you can't get breast cancer.
Is that because you're being exposed to something that is causing these cells to be created? Like, why is it that there are so many, over 80% of breast cancer is created not because of that genetic mutation?
Yeah, we actually don't know all of the reasons that breast cancer comes about. We have risk factors. We know things that can increase the risk of getting diagnosed with breast cancer, things that can decrease the risk, like eating a healthy diet or exercising. Those can decrease your risk.
Getting a mammogram.
Getting a mammogram can detect your breast cancer early. One thing that's very new to kind of the knowledge of decreasing your risk is decreasing alcohol intake. The American Cancer Society now recommends only 1 drink per day for women to help decrease that risk of breast cancer.
And what's interesting about breast cancer is that usually there are no symptoms, but there are a couple of symptoms you want to let people know about. What's one that people really need to make sure they are thinking about?
Yes, so if a woman feels something abnormal in their breast, even if they've just had a mammogram, they should bring that to the attention of their doctor. They should not ignore it. And especially younger women who may be before the age of getting diagnosed with a mammogram should not ignore a lump that they feel in their breast.
It's so important. Now, for women who need to get a mammogram, what age do they start? And moreover, if somebody is diagnosed with breast cancer, what does treatment look like?
Yes, so mammograms should begin at age 40 and should be annual from age 40 on, and that's per recommendations from a lot of the cancer groups across the country and a lot of the medical groups across the country. Once breast cancer is diagnosed, if it's diagnosed at early stage, stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3, the treatments are often varying depending on both the stage and the type of breast cancer. But stage 1 through stage 2 and stage 3 can all be cured. Stage 4 disease means the cancer has traveled outside of the breast and outside of the lymph nodes, and that's not curable, but is often very treatable.
It is good to know, everybody. At the end of the day, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Every month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Women, make sure you are getting your mammograms. And look, even though it's very rare, men can get breast cancer as well. It is important that we have conversations like these.
Absolutely. 1% of all breast cancer diagnoses are in men.
Wow, men, we got to listen up to this as well. Thank you, Dr. Sheen, for joining us today.
Welcome.
And look, everybody, if you need more information about breast cancer, log on to ochsner.org/ncan.